The breaking point. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Conclave shimmered with holographic displays, its vast domed ceiling projecting the stars of member worlds across known space. Ambassador Elena Chen of Earth stood at the observation deck, staring at the magnificent spectacle with tired eyes. 5 years of diplomatic service to the Conclave had taught her patience, but that patience was reaching its limit. "The Appropriations Committee session begins in 15 minutes, Ambassador," said Marcus Wright, her chief aide, approaching with a data tablet. His normally composed face looked strained today. Elena turned from the window and took the tablet. "Any response to our appeal?" Marcus shook his head. "They've rejected it again, cited procedural inconsistencies in our submission format." "Procedural inconsistencies they changed in the regulations last week without informing us," Elena said, scrolling through the document. Her frustration wasn't surprising. For 5 years, humanity had followed every rule, documented every grievance, through proper channels, and still found themselves shut out of meaningful participation in interstellar governance. "The critical resources allocation vote is today," Marcus reminded her. "If Resolution 87B passes, our colonies on Tau Ceti and Europa Station will lose almost half their export allowances." Elena studied the analysis one final time. Earth had joined the Galactic Conclave 12 years ago with tremendous hope. First contact had been peaceful, even promising. The 36 species that comprised the Conclave had appeared welcoming, offering technology and access to interstellar travel networks. But reality had proven different. Humans were tolerated, not integrated. Their innovations were adopted. Without credit, their resources deemed strategic assets, subject to Conclave oversight, their concerns perpetually tabled for further study. "Assemble the delegation," Elena said, straightening her formal diplomatic jacket with its subtle Earth insignia, "and send an encoded message to Director Harrington. Tell him we might be implementing protocol threshold today." Marcus's eyes widened. "Are you certain? We've only discussed it as a theoretical option." "Sometimes theory becomes practice," Elena replied. "Let's see how the vote goes first." The conclave chamber was a perfect hexagon with tiered seating for hundreds of representatives. The human delegation was assigned to the uppermost tier, far from the central speaking platform where Senior Administrator Klex of the Moradin Imperium presided. The administrator's 8 limbs moved in fluid, precise gestures, as they called the session to order, their iridescent exoskeleton shifting colors under the chamber lights. "We now proceed to vote on Resolution 87B regarding standardization of resource extraction allocations in developing territories," announced Klex, their voice translated into standard Galactic. Elena raised her hand and pressed the Request to Speak button on her console. A small blue light flickered briefly, then died. She tried again. Nothing. Beside her, Marcus whispered, "They've locked out our speaking privileges. Again." On the main floor, representatives from the Conclave's founding species delivered their final statements before the vote. The Moradin delegate spoke of necessary oversight to ensure equitable distribution. The Vexari representative mentioned standard protocols for emerging species integration. Not once did anyone acknowledge that these emerging species included humanity, or that the regulations would specifically restrict human colonies while benefiting established powers. The voting began, status lights flashing across the chamber as each delegation registered their position. As expected, the Conclave's inner circle voted as a block. The final count showed 27-5 in favor of the resolution, with humanity's formal objection never entered into the record. "Resolution 87B is adopted," announced Administrator Klex. "Implementation begins in 60 standard cycles. We now move to consideration of—" Elena stood up. She made no grand gesture, issued no dramatic proclamation. She simply closed her tablet, nodded to Marcus, and walked toward the nearest exit. One by one, the other 9 members of Earth's delegation followed her lead, faces deliberately neutral. The movement caught attention. Whispers spread across the chamber. Administrator Klex's exoskeleton flashed patterns of surprise and irritation. "Ambassador Chen," Klex called out, their translator making their voice boom across the chamber. "The session is not concluded. Return to your assigned positions immediately." Elena paused at the doorway and turned. The entire conclave was watching now. She could feel hundreds of alien eyes, visual sensors, and perception apparatuses focused on her. For a moment, she considered letting it go, returning to her seat, filing another formal protest that would be ignored. Instead, she said simply, "Since our voice means nothing here, our presence is unnecessary. Humanity will be reconsidering its relationship with the Galactic Conclave." The door closed behind the human delegation with a soft, pneumatic hiss. In the corridor, Marcus looked at Elena with a mixture of shock and excitement. Did we really walk out of the Galactic Conclave?" "We did," Elena replied, walking briskly toward the Earth Embassy section of the massive station. "Send the coded message now. Protocol threshold is active." "They'll try to stop us," said Security Chief Rivera, falling into step beside them. "Not immediately," Elena replied. "The conclave moves too slowly, debates too much. By the time they decide on a response, we'll be gone." Back in the council chamber, confusion reigned. Such a thing had never happened in the conclave's 2,000 years of existence. A minor species simply walking out? Unthinkable. "What did the human mean by reconsidering its relationship?" asked the Centauri representative. "An empty threat," scoffed Delegate Urzan of the Vexari Dominion. "They are nothing without the conclave. Where would they go? What would they do?" Administrator Klex wasn't so certain. Something about the calm, deliberate way the humans had left troubled them. At the Earth Embassy, Elena addressed the entire staff. "We have 2 hours to gather essential materials and personnel. Anything classified or sensitive gets priority. The Horizon is standing by to transport us back to Earth." "What happens when we get home?" asked Lydia Park, one of the younger diplomatic aides. Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Then the real work begins. For 5 years, they've underestimated us, dismissed us, and exploited us. They think we need them more than they need us. It's time they learned how wrong they are." As the Earth Embassy staff rushed to follow evacuation protocols, Elena sent one final message to Director Harrington. "Threshold crossed. They never saw our true strength because they never bothered to look. They will now." Within 2 hours, the human presence on the conclave station had vanished. The Horizon broke orbit without requesting departure clearance, its engines flaring, bright as it accelerated toward the jump point. In the now empty human embassy, a single data crystal sat on Elena's desk, displaying a simple message for whoever came to investigate. Humanity extended a hand in friendship. You chose to see it as a hand of servitude. We will not return until you recognize the difference. 2 weeks after the walkout, Director James Harrington sat in his office in the Interstellar Relations Complex in Geneva, looking at the growing stack of communication requests from the Galactic Conclave. As Earth's Director of Extraplanetary Affairs, he had expected some reaction to humanity's departure, but the level of panic surprised even him. "That's the 8th urgent message from the Moradin today," said his assistant, placing another data tablet on his desk. "And the Centauri have sent over their 4th trade proposal this week. They're offering exclusive navigation rights through the Arcturus corridor." James picked up the tablet and scanned the Centauri offer. "They're getting desperate. They finally realized how much they relied on our shipping networks." His assistant nodded. "The Vexari are offering a special technological partnership too. Apparently, their medical supply chains are falling apart without human transport ships." And yet none of them are admitting they were wrong, James noted. Interesting how quickly they went from ignoring us to needing us. He stood and walked to the large window overlooking Lake Geneva. In the distance, he could see the new Interstellar Defense Headquarters, its construction accelerated after first contact. What the Conclave races didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for independence all along. While playing the role of the grateful newcomer to galactic society, Earth had been carefully building a foundation for autonomy, establishing secret research outposts beyond Conclave space, developing technologies the Conclave didn't know about, and quietly forming connections with other marginalized species. "Has the Arcturus facility been completed?" James asked. "Yes, sir. It's fully operational and still undetected by Conclave sensors." James smiled. "Perfect. And our non-Conclave contacts?" "The Tellarites have confirmed their support. They've never forgiven the Conclave for restricting their expansion 3 centuries ago. The Meridian Collective is cautious but interested, especially after seeing how quickly the Conclave's trade network started falling apart without us." On the Grand Conclave Station, emergency sessions had been called daily since the human departure. Supply chains were breaking down across multiple sectors. Earth's apparently simple exit had revealed unexpected vulnerabilities in the Conclave's carefully balanced economy. "How could this happen?" demanded Delegate Urzon, his scaled skin flushed dark orange with agitation. "They were nothing but an emerging species." Administrator Klex's exoskeleton pulsed with stress patterns as they tried to maintain order in the increasingly chaotic session. "We must approach this rationally. The humans have made no demands. They have violated no treaties by withdrawing. But they cannot simply leave. Their shipping networks handle 40% of our pharmaceutical distribution," protested a representative from the Centauri Alliance. Elder Nix of the Tellurian Assembly, older and wiser than most, raised a gnarled appendage to speak. "We never realized how dependent we've become on their infrastructure, their efficient logistics systems, their adaptive problem-solving. We've integrated it all into our economies while denying them proper representation. The question," Administrator Klex said, "is what do they want? What will bring them back to the Conclave?" Back on Earth, Elena Chen was meeting with Director Harrington and Secretary General Sophia Okafor in the United Earth Government headquarters. She looked rested and determined after her return from Conclave space. "They still don't understand what's happening," Elena reported. "They think this is a negotiating tactic, that we'll come back if they offer us better terms." Secretary General Okafor nodded. "Let them think that for now. It gives us time to implement the next phase. Our intelligence suggests at least 5 minor Conclave species are already considering following our example. The Tellarites, the Meridians, the Solari Compact," Director Harrington listed, "all reached out through back channels. Then we move forward as planned," the Secretary General decided. "Elena, you'll lead the diplomatic team for the Arcturus Conference. James will coordinate from Earth, and Admiral Reyes will ensure our security." As the Conclave scrambled to address the crisis, they failed to notice the subtle movements of ships toward the Arcturus sector, or the coded transmissions passing between Earth and worlds they had long considered insignificant. The walkout had been just the beginning. The real revolution was about to unfold. The power shift captain Nadia Reyes guided the UES Horizon into orbit around HD 219134, a red dwarf star well beyond the established borders of Conclave space. Through the view screen, she could see the massive station taking shape. Its curved hull gleaming in the starlight, construction drones swarming around its framework like fireflies. "Impressive," said her first officer, Lieutenant Commander Jackson. "Hard to believe we built this right under the Conclave's sensors." "They never bothered to monitor this system after their initial survey," Nadia replied with a satisfied smile. "They decided it had limited strategic value and moved on. Their loss. In just 3 months since the human walkout from the Galactic, Conclave Humanity had accelerated construction of what would soon become the headquarters of a new interstellar alliance, one built on genuine equality rather than the carefully disguised hierarchy of the conclave. "Ambassador Chen's shuttle is approaching," reported the communications officer, "along with vessels from 7 non-conclave species." On the partially completed station, Elena Chen stood in the conference hall, watching as representatives from diverse species arrived. The technologically advanced but politically marginalized Tellarites with their crystalline communication matrices, the resource-rich but militarily vulnerable Meridian Collective, several species who had never been offered conclave membership at all, including the silicon-based Solari and the hive-minded Arxur. Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's lead scientific liaison, walked up beside her. "It's finally happening," Elena nodded. "Are you nervous?" "Terrified," Maya admitted, "but also exhilarated." "Do you think they'll actually join us?" "They're here, aren't they?" Elena said. "That's already more than the conclave ever gave them." When all delegates were seated in the circular chamber, designed specifically to avoid the hierarchical arrangement of the conclave, Elena took her position at the table. 3 months ago, humanity withdrew from the Galactic Conclave, she began. "We discovered what many of you have known for centuries, that the conclave is not the fair and equal body it claims to be. Many of you have experienced the same treatment, valued for your resources or strategic location, but denied true participation." She activated a holographic display in the center of the table, showing a map of local space with a new configuration of trade routes connecting systems that had never before had direct contact. "We propose an alliance based on genuine equality. Each member world retains sovereignty while contributing to our collective strength. No vetoes by powerful members, no second-class citizens. As Elena outlined the terms, equal voting rights. Regardless of species age or technological development, shared knowledge databases, coordinated defense protocols, and standardized fair trade practices," the delegates exchanged glances. Many had suffered under conclave dominance for generations. "Humanity walked away from the conclave not just for ourselves," Elena concluded, "but because we saw the potential for something better, something truly fair. Will you join us in building it?" One by one, the delegates signaled their agreement. By the end of the day, the founding charter of the Free Systems Alliance had been signed by representatives of 8 species. In the weeks that followed, news began to spread throughout the galaxy. When reports reached the conclave, their worst fears were confirmed. Humanity hadn't just walked away. They had created an alternative that threatened the conclave's centuries of dominance. 3 months later, the Galactic Conclave headquarters buzzed with nervous energy. In the main chamber, Delegate Urzon of the Vexari Dominion stood before the gathered representatives, his scaled skin now a pale yellow from stress. "This is worse than we predicted," Urzon said, projecting a star map onto the main display. Bright blue lines showed new trade routes connecting systems that had never before had direct contact. The human-led alliance has established jump gates in 5 previously unconnected sectors. Their trade volume has increased by 270% in just 90 days. Administrator Klex's appendages flashed patterns of distress as they studied the map. "How are they building jump gates so quickly? It took the conclave decades to create our network." "They're using a new design," Urzon explained. "Smaller, more efficient. They've integrated technological innovations from their allies at an alarming rate. The Tellarite quantum relays, the Solari compression algorithms. Humans have a gift for combining different technologies in ways we never considered." A murmur of concern spread through the chamber. The economic forecast displayed next to the map showed steep downward trends for most conclave worlds. 3. Minor conclave members have submitted formal petitions to withdraw their membership, announced Administrator Klex. The Procyon Aggregate, the Deneb Consortium, and the Tau Coalition. They all intend to join this Free Systems Alliance. "We cannot allow this to continue," hissed a representative from the Moradin Imperium. "We should assemble the fleet and put an end to this rebellion." Elder Nix of the Tellurian Assembly spoke up. "Our intelligence suggests their defensive capabilities are substantial. The Alliance has formed a unified defense fleet under human leadership, and it appears to be growing rapidly. Military action would be unwise." The chamber fell silent as the conclave members considered their limited options. Finally, Administrator Kleck spoke. "We will send Senior Diplomat Trevor of the Centauri Alliance to Earth with a new proposal. Full conclave membership with all privileges, 2 permanent seats on the High Committee, and the immediate repeal of all restrictive trade regulations. The most generous terms ever offered to a new species," Urzan noted with obvious reluctance. Klex's exoskeleton dimmed slightly. "We have no choice." Meanwhile, at the Free Systems Alliance headquarters, now officially named Arcturus Station, Admiral Nadia Reyes reviewed the latest fleet deployment reports with her staff. The former Earth Navy officer now commanded the Alliance's unified defense forces, a position she had earned through her strategic brilliance and ability to work effectively with diverse species. "The Meridian ships have completed their upgrades," reported her Chief of Operations, Commander Wei. "Their adaptive hull configuration has increased maneuverability by 40%. "Good," Nadia nodded. "And the new sensor array from the Solari?" "Installed on all primary vessels. It can detect conclave ships well before they can detect us." Nadia studied the tactical display showing Alliance territory. In just 3 months, their alliance had expanded from 8 member species to 12, with more applying each week. Their unified space now formed a significant region that bordered conclave territory on multiple fronts. "The conclave's diplomat will reach Earth tomorrow," Commander Wei said. "What do you think they'll offer?" Nadia smiled slightly. "Too little. Too late. But let's see what Director Harrington reports." On Earth, in the Interstellar Affairs Complex in Geneva, Marcus Wright prepared for his meeting with the conclave's top diplomat. As Elena's former aide and now a mid-level diplomatic officer, Marcus had been deliberately chosen to receive senior diplomat Trevor, a subtle message about Earth's view of the conclave's importance. When the Centauri diplomat arrived, Marcus greeted him with correct but minimal courtesy. Trevor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress in his species, as he was led to a small meeting room rather than the grand chambers he was accustomed to. "The conclave extends its most sincere greetings to the people of Earth," Trevor began, his translator converting his melodic speech to English. "We wish to correct certain misunderstandings that have arisen." Marcus nodded politely, but said nothing. Visibly uncomfortable with the silence, Trevor continued. "I am authorized to offer Earth full conclave membership with all privileges, 2 permanent seats on the High Committee, and the immediate repeal of all restrictive trade regulations." He placed a data crystal on the table. "This contains the formal offer, signed by all major conclave powers. These are the most generous terms ever offered to any species in conclave history." Marcus looked at the crystal for a moment, then met Trevor's 4-eyed gaze. "I'm authorized to inform you that Earth is not interested in conclave membership at this time." Trevor's translator emitted a strange sound as he struggled to find words. "Not interested? But these terms, you must understand how unprecedented." "However," Marcus continued calmly, "should the conclave wish to apply for membership in the Free Systems Alliance, we would be happy to provide the standard application package." The message was clear. The power dynamic had irreversibly shifted. Elsewhere in Alliance space, Dr. Maya Patel toured the new Joint Species Research Institute on Arcturus Station with a group of scientists from 10 different species. The facility, built with combined knowledge from all Alliance members, already outpaced any research center in conclave space. The quantum computing core processes data at 50 times the speed of traditional conclave systems. explained Salax, a Tellarite scientist whose crystalline form shimmered with internal light. When combined with human neural network designs, we can solve problems that were once thought impossible. Maya watched as human researchers worked side by side with beings of wildly different biology and culture. This was what humanity had hoped for when they first looked to the stars: true cooperation, genuine exchange of ideas, respect for all intelligent life. "We've received results from the agricultural test sites on New Hope," reported Dr. Alejandro Rodriguez, a human biologist. "The Meridian symbiotic fungi have increased crop yields by 70% and eliminated 2 plant diseases that have plagued human farming for generations. And the human irrigation techniques have allowed our communal pools to maintain perfect balance without constant supervision," added Zila, a representative of the Arcsur hive mind. "Our collective health indicators have improved by 35%. As Maya observed the enthusiastic exchange of ideas, her communicator signaled an incoming message from Earth. Marcus Wright was reporting on his meeting with senior diplomat Trevor. "The conclave offered full membership and 2 permanent high committee seats," Marcus's message read. "I declined as instructed. The diplomat seemed shocked. He's returning to conclave space immediately to report our response." 6 months after humanity's walkout, the Free Systems Alliance held its first formal assembly on Arcturus Station. Representatives from all 18 member species gathered to commemorate the Alliance's rapid growth and to witness the unveiling of the newly completed station. In the Grand Assembly Hall, Elena Chen stood at the central podium looking out at this remarkable gathering. Species that had once been rivals or even enemies now sat together as equals. Beside her stood Admiral Reyes, Dr. Patel, and the leaders from the original founding members of the Alliance. 6 months ago, a small group of humans left a council chamber in silence," Elena began. "That quiet departure has echoed across the stars, growing into a movement that has rewritten the rules of galactic society." Screens around the hall displayed images from worlds across Alliance space. New cities rising on once struggling colonies, shipyards producing vessels with integrated technologies from a dozen species, hospitals treating patients of all biologies, with medical techniques once reserved for the privileged few. The Alliance began with a simple idea: that all intelligent species deserve equal respect and opportunity, that cooperation yields greater results than competition, that diversity is strength, not weakness. As she spoke, the hall's main doors opened. A small delegation entered, led by a familiar figure, Administrator Klex of the Moradin Imperium, their exoskeleton now pulsing with subdued patterns as they walked slowly toward the podium. The hall fell silent. "Administrator Klex," Elena said, her voice carrying through the hushed chamber, "this is unexpected." "Necessity often leads us to unexpected places, Ambassador Chen," Klex replied, their translator conveying their clicking speech. "The conclave is changing. Many of us now recognize that we must reform or perish." The administrator's 8 limbs moved in what Elena had learned was a formal gesture of respect. "I come not as an official representative, but as an observer. I wish to understand how the Alliance functions, to see with my own senses what you have built." Elena exchanged glances with Admiral Reyes before responding. "We have nothing to hide. You may observe our assembly and meet with our officials." As Administrator Klex was escorted to a visitor's seating area, Director Harrington, who had traveled from Earth for the assembly, approached Elena. "Interesting development," James said, quietly. "Do you believe them?" "I believe they're afraid," Elena replied. "The question is whether that fear will lead to genuine change." As the assembly continued, Administrator Klex observed everything with their 4 compound eyes wide. They watched humans working alongside species the conclave had dismissed as primitive or unimportant. They saw technology being freely shared rather than hoarded. They witnessed genuine cooperation instead of carefully balanced power games. In the Research Institute, scientists from a dozen worlds collaborated on projects that would benefit all. In the shipyards, vessels were being constructed with combined technologies that surpassed anything in conclave space. In markets and meeting halls, citizens of all species interacted as equals. "Your alliance," Kleck said to Elena later as they stood overlooking the station's central plaza. "It should not work. Different biologies, histories, needs. How do you manage it?" Elena smiled. "By remembering that our differences are our strength, not obstacles to overcome. By ensuring every voice is heard, not just the powerful ones. By building systems that serve all members, not just a privileged few." Kleck's exoskeleton shifted in a pattern Elena had never seen before. If she didn't know better, she might have thought it was shame. "The conclave was not always as it is now," they said quietly. "We began with noble intentions thousands of years ago. Somewhere along the way, we forgot what those were." Elena nodded. "It's not too late to remember." As the stars wheeled slowly overhead, visible through the station's transparent dome, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them here. A simple act of walking away had changed the galaxy forever, not through violence or threats, but by offering a better alternative. The path forward wouldn't be easy. Old powers rarely surrendered gracefully, and building something new always came with challenges. But looking around at what they had already accomplished in just 6 months, she knew they had made the right choice. Sometimes the most powerful statement wasn't a grand declaration or a show of force, but simply walking away from a table where you weren't valued and building your own table instead. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.